We are very excited about our partnership with Atlan and excited to show what we've had in the works in the world of metadata. But first, a little bit about DBT. DBT enables analytics engineers and data engineers to essentially work like software engineers. If you have SQL skills, and we even just extended to Python support, you'll be able to overcome problems of data quality and trust. So a few of those problems are development silos that lead to analytic debt. If you've ever worked with a bunch of custom queries, you know what I'm talking about. The second challenge is opaque logic and difficult to investigate logic. So really not understanding the lineage, where data comes from. And I think ultimately the most important thing here is trust. Trust in your data, trust in the logic that's being used, and the insights you're deriving from analyses. And metadata plays a key role here. So DBT standardizes the development with the workflow that enables these analytics engineers to test, deploy, and document analytic code. So pulling from any number of sources, doing that transformation throughout the process, and even defining metrics on top of your models, and ultimately getting that data into your dashboards and other tools of consumption, as well as your catalogs like Atlan. But today we're here to talk about metadata. And one way we work with metadata at DBT is the DBT Cloud Metadata API. So the Metadata API uses metadata generated by your DBT runs, and it can produce information about seeds, sources, models, tests, exposures, and new to the field, metrics. So this allows you to get information about all of your different DBT assets, whether that's lineage, freshness, descriptions, dimensions. All of this valuable information captured in your DBT project is now accessible in downstream tools like Atlan. There's even a sort of feedback loop here, like we'll talk about in a second. In a tool like Atlan, you can define, let's say, a verified metric or a verified model in your DBT project, represent that in Atlan, and iterate from there. Here's how Atlan leverages DBT metadata. You can import your metrics, and so that's both your list of metrics and information about the metrics. You can import your models, which provides information about your models, but otherwise known as a data set. So what is going on with these data sets? What do they represent? And other information that you've encoded. You can import sources as well. So these are the data sources that feed into your data set, such as a Salesforce per se. And the really cool thing about Atlan, how it works with DBT, is it provides column level lineage. So when you're looking at lineage, we'll look at an example in a second, you can see how the dimensions fit in there. And finally, Atlan has a capability called process, which is tracking how Atlan interfaces with your DBT project. So here's some examples here, and you can see that green check mark is verified, whether it's a model, a source, or a metric. And so you can understand, like, is this a metric or model I want to use? So this is Atlan's capability working hand in hand with the flexibility of DBT metadata. All right, so one prime use case of the metadata API is the DBT semantic layer. So the metadata API is part of the semantic layer. It's a big part of our partnership with Atlan, and that we're excited to share with you all today. All right, so the reason we built the semantic layer is to improve the efficiency and trust of your analyses. So let's say you're trying to answer a question like, what was revenue in June? You might have people arrive at different answers based on the tools they're using, how they're calculating revenue, what data they're using. This is a really challenging problem because ultimately we're making decisions based on our data and the metrics. That's like the point of data analysis. And if people can't trust the output, then it's a very challenging problem for the business. So the goal of the semantic layer is to solve these challenges around consistency and precision of your metrics as well as your models, but we'll focus on metrics today. So as you can see in this diagram, an organization might have a number of different tools with a number of different users, and they're pulling based on data in the warehouse, but the value out of the semantic layer is providing a common layer for all these different tools. So our goal is to enable you to save time defining metrics and other DBT assets once, accessing them via the semantic layer natively and your different tools in your data stack, leading to more consistency and trust. And we're very excited to work with Atlan on their integration. All right, so how does metadata fit into the semantic layer? So part of the semantic layer is certainly querying the data, as we just saw in that diagram. Part of it is also accessing the metadata. So DBT metadata enables discovery and provides context for semantic layer users, including in Atlan. So that's folks being able to access that list of metrics and models, view details about them. Generally, integration partners approach this in a 4-step approach. The first is importing and syncing model and source metadata. We already saw that Atlan does that. So then you can understand dimensions, tests, and freshness. The second is importing and syncing metric definitions. So metrics are fairly new to DBT projects. They're seeing a lot of adoption, but they are something new and definitely a key component in the semantic layer. So metric metadata gets you metric calculation, dimensions, description, and even that verified tag that we saw in that earlier screenshot. Third, most integrations connect to the DBT proxy server as a data source, and then finally query the imported metrics via UI. Atlan's built all of these, and we're very excited to continue collaborating on the evolution of this integration. But as you can see, metadata plays a really key role in the semantic layer. You have to understand these DBT assets in order to know what to query and how to interpret the results. Awesome. So here's a primer on Atlan's current semantic layer integration. So I view it as really a story around discovery via a data catalog. And even speaking personally, as a user of our internal assets, I want to understand, what do we have? What's already defined? How should I use it? Should I trust it? And so being able to view these different metrics, understand their definitions and preview values, understand lineage, including column level lineage, and viewing related assets is a really important part of this discovery process. That's certainly not all that Atlan and the semantic layer provide, but I think that's a salient user story here. So just a few screenshots here of how the semantic layer is incorporated with Atlan. And you should be able to use this coming up soon. You can see a list of metrics here, as well as your models, sources, columns, and processes, as we discussed. And we can note which metrics are verified, which are in draft mode, and which you probably shouldn't use yet. I can view details about the metric, including previewing the values. So this is going beyond metadata, also querying the semantic layer, getting the actual data at that grain. Here's a breakdown of the lineage graph, including column level lineage. So this is pulling from the Metadata API. And then finally being able to view the related assets for this metric. We're very excited at DBT Labs to continue working with Atlan on the semantic layer integration and usage of the Metadata API more broadly. Thank you all.